Good evening and welcome. Tonight we're going to be doing something a little different because it's very hot where I live right now and my phone refuses to cooperate with me and refuses to use the camera without overheating and shutting down, which I've tried to do 2 lives now where it did that, and now it's been doing that all night. So I'm gonna let phone rest for a bit and we'll just do a nice relaxing voiceover. So tonight I'm going to do what I've been trying to do on my lives, which is read through my big book that has facts about every country around the world and go through them. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go through all the countries that I've covered so far. So if there's one you haven't seen that sounds interesting to you, you can check out my playlist of the countries in the world and learn about a country while you relax to my soft-spoken voice. And since it is very hot, I left a window open so I don't overheat and shut down. So the sounds of the city are going to be a little louder than usual. I hope you don't mind. But let's start off with... Oh, there's an A country we haven't got to yet. I'm going to do that in a week or so. So I'll skip that one. We're just going to do the ones that I've filmed so far. So therefore, our first A1 is going to be Armenia. And I'll put up a picture of the flag and everything, so just so you have something to look at. So, Armenia, or the Republic of Armenia. It says, modern Armenia is a small, mountainous, landlocked country. But ancient Armenia stretched between the Caspian and Mediterranean seas. Regarded as the first Christian nation in the year 301, it has been absorbed into countless empires, most recently the Soviet Union from 1921 to 1991. Armenia's rebirth brought war with Azerbaijan over an ethnic Armenian region inside that country, resulting in Armenian control of Nagorno-Karabakh. Tensions continue today. Armenia's developing economy benefits from remittances from hundreds of thousands of overseas Armenians, especially as its population shrinks, down from 3.5 million in 1990, and ages. Let's see on here, it says the current population is just about 3.03 million. Right, next we have Australia, or the Commonwealth of Australia. Australia is the only nation to govern an entire continent and its outlying islands. It is about the same size as the 48 contiguous United States, but settlement is concentrated along the temperate southeastern coastal region, where the largest cities, Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane, are found. The interior, dubbed the Outback, consists mostly of sparsely populated deserts, with some tropical wetlands in the north. More than 7 million migrants have arrived since 1945. By 2018, a quarter of Australia's residents had been born overseas. Its increasing Aboriginal population numbers some 600,000 and speaks about 150 different languages, many of which are threatened with extinction. Services, including tourism, dominate Australia's economy. Tourists can see native wildlife found nowhere else on Earth, such as kangaroos, koalas, and over 300 endemic bird species. Next would be Bangladesh, or the People's Republic of Bangladesh. Much of Bangladesh is part of the largest delta system in the world, fed by some 700 rivers, including the Ganges. This plain supports high-density farming, though floods frequently destroy homes and crops, primarily rice. Despite a difficult environment, Bangladesh has moved forward since its independence from Pakistan in 1971. New jobs, mostly for women, have been created in the garment industry. Economic progress has lifted 8 million Bangladeshis out of poverty since 2010. But the recent arrival of 1 million refugees from Myanmar is a strain on resources and infrastructure. I'm going to turn the page for some more facts. There we go. So next would be Bosnia and Herzegovina. Ethnic nationalism remains a problem in this southeastern European nation, consisting of Bosniaks or Bosnian Muslims, about 50% of the population, Serbs 31%, and Croats 15%. These ethnic groups fought a 1992 to 1995 war that was part of the breakup of Yugoslavia. The 1995 Dayton Peace Accords ended the war and stabilized an independent Bosnia and Herzegovina, subdivided into two autonomous regions, Republika Srpska, or the Serbian Republic, and the Federation of Bosnia and Herzegovina, where most Bosniaks and Croats live. The country depends on international assistance for its economy and security. Next would be Brunei, or Brunei Darussalam. A tiny sultanate just north of the equator on the Southeast Asian island of Borneo, Brunei possesses abundant offshore oil and gas in the South China Sea. It is a land of dense forests and mangrove swamps that remains largely undeveloped outside the wealthy capital city. Some 70% of Brunei's land remains as primal tropical rainforest, an ecotourism success. Since independence from Britain in 1984, the country has been governed as an absolute monarchy, often called the Malay Islamic monarchy. Bruneians benefit from government subsidies for food, fuel, and housing. Next would be, I'm sticking to the pages. It's really hot in here. Next would be Burundi, or the Republic of Burundi. A fragile peace has existed in this East African country since a 12-year civil war between ethnic Hutus and Tutsis ended in 2006. Hutus are 85% of the Burundian population, and Tutsis are 16%. After gaining independence from Belgium in 1962, the country was run by a series of brutal Tutsi-dominated regimes. In 1993, Burundi's first ever election was won by a Hutu. His assassination in 1993 by factions of the Tutsi-led army plunged Burundi into civil war. Today, a multi-party democracy balances ethnic needs. The mainstay of the economy is agriculture. Next would be Cameroon, or the Republic of Cameroon. Slide this a little closer to me. There we go. Cameroon stretches from Lake Chad to the Gulf of Guinea, encompassing desert plains and Greenlands in the north. And grasslands in the north. That makes more sense. Mountains in the center and tropical rainforests in the south. British-administered Western Cameroon joined the former French territory of East Cameroon in 1962 to create the new country. Christianity is the dominant religion in the south. Most follow Islam in the north. The economy depends on commodity exports, and yet oil production is decreasing. In 2002, the International Court of Justice resolved a border dispute with Nigeria, giving the oil-rich Bakassi Peninsula to Cameroon. Alright, time to turn the page. So the next country would be, let's see, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, or Congo, Democratic Republic of the. Dense rainforests occupy 60% of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Africa's second largest country. Navigable rivers are the only dependable means of transport, and communication between areas is difficult. The people of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, formerly the Belgian Congo from 1885 to 1965, and Zaire from 1965 to 1997, have endured brutal political conflicts. Neighboring countries joined the conflict, leading to Africa's World War from circa 1998 to 2003, in which millions were killed and resources plundered. A peace accord was signed in 2013, but some 19,000 UN peacekeeping troops remain in the region. Ooh. Next would be Croatia, or the Republic of Croatia. A crescent-shaped country in southeast Europe. Croatia extends from the fertile plains of the Danube to the mountainous coast along the Adriatic Sea, where it has 1,185 islands. Croatia declared its independence from Yugoslavia in 1991, leading to a war with Croatian Serbs and the Serb-dominated Yugoslav army from 1991 to 1995. War halted the tourist trade and drastically cut industrial output. Tourism has returned, especially to the Dalmatian coast, but the economy is hampered by many old state-owned industries. Croatia joined NATO in 2009 and the European Union in 2013. Next would be Czechia, or the Czech Republic, which I feel so bad. I mispronounced the name of the country in my video. I said Czechia, and I literally didn't realize until like the day after that it's totally Czechia, and I must have been thinking of Chechnya, but anyway, I do apologize to all the Czech viewers out there. No one said anything about it, but I live with that guilt. Anyway, Czechia. Landlocked Czechia, formerly referred to as the Czech Republic, consists of the historical regions of Moravia, which is mostly hilly, and Bohemia, with rolling plains, plateaus, and low mountains. About 94% of the population is ethnically Czech. Central Europe's oldest university was founded in Prague in 1348. Czechoslovakia was created in 1918 upon the fall of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. In 1939, Czech lands were annexed to Germany, and Slovakia became a German puppet state. Communists ruled a reunited Czechoslovakia from 1948 to 1989. Slovak calls for greater autonomy resulted in the peaceful breakup of Czechoslovakia in 1993. Next would be Djibouti, or the Republic of Djibouti. A gateway for Red Sea shipping, Djibouti is a small African country with a desert landscape. Most inhabitants live in the city of Djibouti. This resource-poor nation profits from its modern port, banking sector, international airport, and the Addis Ababa-Djibouti Railroad, which handles much of Ethiopia's trade. A French territory until 1977, Djibouti hosts a large French military base. A 1991 to 1994 civil war ended with a power-sharing agreement between the two main ethnic groups. In 2003, the U.S. military started operating from a base near the Djibouti airport. And let me turn the page. So next we have the Dominican Republic. The Dominican Republic occupies 2/3 of Hispaniola, which it shares with Haiti, the West Indies' second largest country. This mountainous land includes fertile valleys and a wide coastal plain with centuries-old sugar plantations. Most Dominicans represent a blend of Spanish, Indian, and African ancestries. The Spanish colonized the island in 1493. Santo Domingo, founded in 1496, is the oldest European settlement in the Western Hemisphere. Gaining independence in 1844, the country endured decades of political instability and repression, but today it is a democracy, dependent on agriculture and tourism. A 2013 law seeks to expel Haitian immigrants. And next we have Eritrea, or the state of Eritrea. Located on the Horn of Africa, Eritrea has a high plateau in the north, a coastal plain to the south, and some 300 islands. Eritreans consist of 9 ethnic groups, almost evenly divided between Christians and Muslims. Eritreans' turbulent history involves freedom from Italy in 1941, and hold on, and a federation with and then annexation by Ethiopia from 1952 to 1993, with decades of warfare. Its authoritarian government has had conflicts with neighboring countries, including a devastating border war with Ethiopia from 1998 to 2000. In 2018, Ethiopia reconciled with Eritrea. Next, we would go to, let's see, it's like the Gambia, or the Republic of the Gambia. The Gambia is the smallest country on the African mainland. It is almost entirely surrounded by Senegal, and its geography is defined by the Gambia River Basin and floodplain. Independence from Britain came in 1965. After nearly 30 years of democratic rule, the Gambia's president was ousted by a military coup in 1994. Constitutional rule was reestablished in January 1997, though a 2006 coup attempt led to greater authoritarian rule that ended with a 2016 election. Most people are subsistence farmers. The economy benefits from tourist resorts along the Atlantic coast and remittances from Gambians abroad. And next is Georgia. It says, Georgia on the Black Sea is geographically in Southwest Asia. The mountains forming its northern border serve as a boundary between Europe and Asia. Rich in farmland and minerals, Georgia was annexed by Russia in 1801 and gained independence in 1991. But by 1993, Georgia had lost control of the border regions of South Ossetia and Abkhazia due to ethnic strife. The country stabilized in 1995 and benefits from the Baku-Tbilisi-Ceyhan or BTC oil pipeline. The government seeks to restore Abkhazia and South Ossetia to Georgian control and aspires to join NATO. Let's read about Abkhazia. In 1992, Abkhazia declared independence from Georgia, and fighting broke out between Georgian troops and separatist forces. There we go. Causing some 200,000 people, mostly ethnic Georgians, to flee. Russia's economic and military influence in Abkhazia grew after 1993, and in 2008 Russia recognized Abkhazia as an independent country. Abkhazia's population is estimated at 240,000 based on a disputed 2011 census, with ethnic Abkhaz at 51%, Georgians at 19%, and Armenians at 17%, and Russians at 9%. Increasing cooperation between the region and Russia has stoked Georgia's fears of Russian annexation. Let's read about South Ossetia. In 1989, the rise of Georgian nationalism caused clashes with ethnic Ossetians wanting to unify with Russia's North Ossetia. The Soviet Union's collapse and Georgia's independence in 1991 increased the fighting in South Ossetia. A ceasefire in 1992 gave Ossetians autonomy, but tensions with Georgia led to war with Russia in 2008 and to Russia's recognizing South Ossetia's independence. Prolonged conflict has reduced the population of this mountainous region from 99,000 in 1989 to an estimated 35,000 today. After the 2008 war, Russian troops assumed border security and built barbed wire fences along the Georgia-South Ossetia boundary. All right, let's move on to Ghana, or the Republic of Ghana. Ghana has a grassy coastal plain, an inland plateau covered by rainforests, and forested hills, open woodland, and dry savanna in the north. Lake Volta, 3.6% of Ghana's territory, is the world's largest man-made lake. Some 75 ethnic groups inhabit Ghana, long known for its gold. Europeans arrived in the 15th century and the British colonized it in 1874. In 1957, it was the first sub-Saharan country to achieve independence. Ghana experienced periods of military rule before a 1992 constitution helped foster a more stable democracy. Ghana is becoming a major oil producer. Next is Greece, or the Hellenic Republic. Mostly dry and mountainous, Greece is a large mainland and 9,835 islands and islets, and the birthplace of democracy. After almost 400 years under Turkish rule, Greece won independence in 1830. It endured Nazi occupation and military dictatorship from 1967 to 1974. Relations with Turkey have been tense over Cyprus and Aegean issues. Greece joined the EU in 1981, but the euro crisis devastated its economy, leading to high unemployment, austerity measures, and bailouts. Since the 1990s, foreigners have been migrating to Greece. From 2015 to 2017, over 1 million from countries such as Syria passed through. Next is Grenada. Grenada, located in the southeastern Caribbean, consists of the islands of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique. Most Grenadians are of African descent. Nutmeg replaced sugar as the main crop after the British took the island from France in 1783. Small farms replaced sugar plantations, slavery was abolished, and the spice industry has continued to support the economy. Since independence in 1974, Grenada has seen growth in tourism, medical schools, and banking. And next would be Guyana, or the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. Tropical rainforests shroud more than 80% of this English-speaking former British colony on the north coast of South America. More than 90% of the population resides on the narrow coastal plain. Guyana gained independence in 1966. During 150 years of British rule, laborers were brought here from Africa and India. Today, the Guyanese population is 43% East Indian, 30% African, 17% mixed, and 9% Amerindian. Sugar, bauxite, and gold are leading exports. However, Guyana's high debt burden hampers the democratic government. Next would be Haiti, or the Republic of Haiti. Mountainous Haiti, which, after a successful slave revolt against the French in 1804, became the first Caribbean state to achieve independence and the first black republic, occupies the western third of Hispaniola. It is the poorest country in the Americas due to decades of violence and instability, and its vulnerability to devastating storms, floods, and earthquakes, such as the one that devastated the capital in 2010. There is a huge income gap between the Creole-speaking black majority and the French-speaking mulattoes, or Haitians of mixed African and European descent. A UN peacekeeping mission of troops and police has helped maintain stability. Next would be Iceland. A volcanic island with glaciers over more than a tenth of its area. Iceland is Europe's westernmost country. Under the Danish crown for more than 500 years, the country became a republic in 1944. Almost all of Iceland's electricity and heating come from hydroelectric power and geothermal water reserves. Explosive geysers, relaxing geothermal spas, and glacier-fed waterfalls attract tourists. Aluminum and marine products are the main exports, and most trade is with European Union countries. In 2009, Iceland applied for membership in the EU, but halted the process in 2013 due to fishing disputes. Next would be Iran, or the Islamic Republic of Iran. Iran is a West Asian country of mountains and deserts. Farming and settlements are in the west or north. Oil reserves lie along the Persian Gulf. A majority of Iranians are ethnically Persian, 61%, and Shiite Muslims, approximately 90%. The last Shah came to power in 1941 and initiated social and economic reforms, but he became increasingly autocratic. Revolution broke out in 1978, and a fundamentalist theocracy took power in 1979. Despite its oil wealth, Iran suffers from international sanctions aimed at limiting nuclear and missile development. The country wields political power in regional conflicts. Next will be Ireland, or Éire. An island in the North Atlantic, Ireland features coastal mountains in the west and interior agricultural lowlands with numerous hills, lakes, and bogs. Ireland occupies about 83% of the island of Ireland. Northern Ireland is part of the United Kingdom. In 1922, Ireland's Roman Catholic counties won independence, while mostly Protestant Northern Ireland remained under British control. Ireland joined the EU in 1973. From the early 1990s to 2007, it experienced robust economic growth in construction, manufacturing, and tourism. However, the country slumped into economic recession in both 2009 and 2013. Alright, next page. Our next country is Israel, or the State of Israel. Israel on the Mediterranean coast of southwestern Asia includes the western half of the Dead Sea, the lowest point on Earth's surface. Israel's population is about 75% Jewish. Israeli Arabs, mostly Muslims, make up about 21%. Born after the British left Palestine in 1948, Israel has fought 8 major conflicts with Arab countries. In 1967's Six-Day War, Israel captured the Gaza Strip from Egypt, the West Bank from Jordan, and the Golan Heights from Syria. Stumbling blocks to peace and the creation of a Palestinian state include Jewish settlements in the West Bank and the status of Jerusalem. Let's read the Palestinian areas. We have the Gaza Strip. In 2005, Israel evacuated 17 Jewish settlements and withdrew its forces from the Gaza Strip. Intra-Palestinian violence between Fatah and Hamas militias from 2006 to 2007 resulted in Hamas gaining control of Gaza in 2007. Since 2005, more than 8,000 rockets fired from Gaza at Israel have been met with Israeli airstrikes on Gaza, in a cycle of provocation and retaliation. The majority of Gazans are Palestinian refugees who are desperately poor and living in camps. And obviously, since this book was published in October of last year, all of the events that has happened in this year of 2021 is not included. But we also have the West Bank. The West Bank, including East Jerusalem, has a population of some 2.7 million Palestinians and 565,000 Jewish settlers. Responding to suicide bombers, Israel started building a West Bank barrier in 2002. Palestinians complain that Israel is using the wall to grab land inside the Green Line, the Israel-West Bank boundary based on the 1949 Armistice Line. The economy depends on foreign aid, tourism, and trade. Next would be Japan. Japan, a country of mountainous islands, extends along the Pacific coast of Asia. More than 4,000 smaller islands surround the 4 largest. About 73% of Japan is mountainous, and all its major cities, except the ancient capital of Kyoto, cling to narrow coastal plains. Japan, thanks to medical technology and a healthy diet, has one of the world's highest life expectancies, but its population is aging faster than that of any other country. Aggressive expansion across the Pacific led to war with the United States in 1941, and the U.S. occupation imposed a democratic constitution after World War II. Japan's innovative market economy is one of the world's largest. High-speed trains, known as Shinkansen, or bullet trains, efficiently connect major cities. Automakers pioneer fuel-efficient and green cars, and Japan leads the way in commercial robotics. Next would be Jordan, or the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan. Located on desert plateaus in Western Asia, Jordan is landlocked other than a short coastline along the Gulf of Aqaba to the south. In 1923, after the fall of the Ottoman Empire, Transjordan, as it was known, was designated a British mandate. Independence came in 1946. The army went to war against the new state of Israel in 1948, taking from Palestine what became known as the West Bank, which was occupied by Israel in 1967. The Arab-Israeli wars have flooded Jordan with 2 million Palestinian refugees. Hundreds of thousands of Syrian and Iraqi refugees have also arrived. Most tourists come to see Petra, a city carved from stone. And next would be Kuwait, or the state of Kuwait, a small oil-rich country on the Persian Gulf. Kuwait is a flat desert, a landscape still showing scars and environmental damage from the 1990 Iraqi invasion. Kuwait's oil wealth provides a high standard of living and attracts many immigrants seeking work. About 70% of the population, many from South and Southeast Asia, are non-citizens. In 1899, Kuwait came under British protection. Full independence was achieved in 1961. Iraq invaded Kuwait in 1990, but a U.S.-led coalition routed Iraqi forces. Clashes between Parliament and the royal family have created political turbulence since 2011. And let's see, no more on this page. I was going to say there's a lot of L countries that I haven't got to, but there is one, and that would be Lithuania, or the Republic of Lithuania. Lithuania is the largest of the 3 Baltic states. The landscape consists of gently rolling plains, widespread forests, and 2,800 lakes. Founded in the 13th century, the Lithuanian state united with Poland in the 16th century and then was absorbed into the Russian Empire in 1795. Lithuania was independent again from 1918 to 1940, before being occupied by the Soviet Union until 1990. Lithuania today is a democracy with a market economy based on information technology and manufacturing. It has seen strong export growth since joining the EU and NATO in 2004. And next would be Madagascar, or the Republic of Madagascar. Off Asia's southeast coast, Madagascar is the world's 4th largest island. A diversity of endemic plant and animal species, such as lemurs, evolved here after the island broke away from Africa approximately 160 million years ago. The first settlers were of African and Asian origins, and 18 separate ethnic groups emerged. French colonial rule from 1896 to 1960 was followed by almost 20 years of Marxism. The Malagasy people approved a 1990 constitution, with elections in 1993. Since 2001, its politics have been tainted by civil unrest and military coups. Political instability contributes to environmental degradation, and most people depend on subsistence farming. Let's see, next would be... Mauritius is next, or the Republic of Mauritius. The island country of Mauritius lies in the Indian Ocean east of Madagascar. The volcanic main island is ringed by coral reefs. There are some 20 smaller islands. Mauritius is in the Indian Ocean cyclone belt, which can bring vital rain for the main crop, sugar. The islands were ruled in turn by the Dutch, French, and British until independence in 1968. During British rule, indentured laborers arrived from the Indian subcontinent. Indo-Mauritians are now 68% of the population. Mauritian Creoles, 27%, trace their origin to plantation owners and African slaves. And next is Montenegro. Slide this over. Montenegro's name means Black Mountain and comes from the dark forests that surround this southern European country. The mountains served as a natural fortress, helping to preserve Montenegro's independence until World War I, when it became part of Serbia and later Yugoslavia. In 2006, Montenegro once again achieved independence by ending its union with Serbia. Tourism is a major strength of the economy, and the country boasts historic sites, ski resorts, and more than 117 beaches. A member of the UN since 2006, Montenegro started accession negotiations with the EU in 2012. And on to the next page, where we have Mozambique, or the Republic of Mozambique. Mozambique's low coastal plains rise to plateaus and mountains. Following nearly 5 centuries of Portuguese presence, Mozambique won independence in 1975, after which it became allied to the Soviet bloc. In 1989, the government renounced Marxism, and a democratic constitution was written in 1990. But fighting between the government and right-wing guerrillas killed thousands and displaced more than 4 million people by 1992. Since 1994, multi-party elections have brought stability. Multi-party elections have brought stability, but corruption and civil unrest threaten future elections. Rates of illiteracy and poverty are falling, and coal and natural gas reserves bring much needed foreign investment. I don't know about you, but this is making my eyes heavy. Anyway, next is Myanmar, or the Republic of the Union of Myanmar. Myanmar is a Southeast Asian country, formerly and in some contexts still known as Burma. Its Irrawaddy Basin is surrounded on 3 sides by densely forested mountains and plateaus. About 2/3 of the population is ethnic Burman, but there are some 135 ethnic minorities, many brutally suppressed by the military regime. Independence from Britain in 1948 was followed by isolationism and socialism. Military governments from 1962 to 2010 and now 2021 were accused of corruption and human rights violations. With the election of civilian leaders, the human rights situation has improved. Again, this book is a few months old. However, the UN concluded that the government's recent action against the Rohingya Muslims is ethnic cleansing, driving over 600,000 survivors over the border into Bangladesh. Next would be Namibia, or the Republic of Namibia. Namibia's small population can be attributed to the large country's harsh geography, the coastal Namib Desert, central semi-arid mountains, and the Kalahari Desert in eastern Namibia. About 87% of residents are black, 6% are white, and 6.5% are mixed. The Ovambo ethnic group makes up half of Namibia's population. During World War I, South Africa captured Namibia from Germany. Independence from South America was achieved in 1990. The multi-party, multiracial democracy has inherited an economy based on mining, mostly diamonds, tourism, cattle ranching, and fishing. Next is Nauru, or the Republic of Nauru, which is probably my favorite country that I've covered so far, and it's one of my least viewed videos, so you should definitely check out that video. You'll learn something really cool, I promise. But our little description says, Nauru is a small oval-shaped island in the western South Pacific. The interior phosphate plateau, comprising 60% of the land area, has been extensively strip mined. Germany annexed Nauru in 1888. Australia took it over in 1914. After World War II, it was a joint trust territory of Australia, Britain, and New Zealand, until independence in 1968. Mines are depleted, and the country depends on aid from Australia and others. Detention centers in Nauru house asylum seekers who've reached Australia by boat, despite the UNHCR's urgent calls since 2016 for their relocation to more humane conditions. And thankfully, because of COVID, that has happened, from what I've read at least. Next we have Norway, or the Kingdom of Norway. The thinly populated Kingdom of Norway borders the North Atlantic and Arctic Oceans. Its extensive coastline is indented with fjords and edged with islands. The mostly mountainous country is covered with coniferous forests. About 40,000 Sami, Scandinavia's indigenous people, live in northern Norway. Largely homogeneous, Norwegians have a high standard of living based on oil and natural gas exports. Norway's oil needs are modest because virtually all of its electricity comes from hydroelectric power plants. Can you hear my cat snoring in the background? Anyway. Norwegians hope the Lærdal Tunnel at 24.51 kilometers, the world's longest road tunnel, will boost tourism to the spectacular fjords. I'll turn the page so I can read to you about Paraguay, or the Republic of Paraguay. Here we go. My poor cat. Paraguay is a landlocked country divided by the Paraguay River into hilly forested land in the east and an extensive flat plain called the Chaco in the west. Paraguayans are mostly a mixture of Spanish and Guarani Indian and are the most racially homogeneous people in South America. Paraguay is a bilingual country. Both Spanish and Guarani have official status and are widely spoken. Paraguay operates hydroelectric dams including Itaipu, one of the world's largest, built and operated jointly with Brazil. Democracy replaced dictatorship by 1993, but the government faces problems in dealing with poverty, deforestation, and smuggling. Next is the Philippines, or the Republic of Philippines. The Philippines consists of more than 7,100 islands between the South China Sea and the Pacific Ocean, with about 20 active volcanoes. Earthquakes are relatively frequent. Typhoons can be devastating. The majority of Filipinos are of Malay descent. Most of the population is Christian due to 400 years of Spanish, from 1521 to 1898, and American, from 1898 to 1946, rule. An estimated 5 to 11% are Muslim, and recent Muslim insurgencies threaten political stability. Industrial and service sectors are healthy, while poor rural areas lack infrastructure. Almost a quarter of the country's labor force works overseas. Next would be Romania. Romania's mountains divide the country into 3 physical and historical regions: Wallachia to the south, Moldavia to the northeast, and Transylvania in the center. Part of the Ottoman Empire for centuries, Wallachia and Moldavia united in 1881. After World War I, Romania added Transylvania. The Soviet army occupied the country in World War II, and the Communist Party was in control from 1947 to 1989. The majority of its people are Romanian, 89.5%. The stateless Romani minority, estimated at 1.5 million, faces discrimination. Romania joined NATO in 2004 and the EU in 2007. Next is Rwanda, or the Republic of Rwanda. Rwanda, just south of the equator in Central Africa, is a land of plateaus. In the west, volcanoes and mountains slope down to the Great Rift Valley. Rich volcanic soils allow intensive agriculture, supporting the highest population density in Africa. Rwanda gained independence from Belgium in 1962. Conflict between ethnic Hutus and Tutsis have marked the history of the country. In 1994, Hutu militias massacred around 800,000 Tutsis and moderate Hutus before Tutsi forces gained control of the country. Most Rwandans rely on subsistence agriculture, and coffee and tea are the main exports. Next would be St. Lucia. St. Lucia, an island in the eastern Caribbean Sea, gained independence from Britain in 1979 after a long history of both French and British control. Let me slide this over. Tropical forests cloak a mountainous interior flanked by twin volcanic peaks. Oil transshipment via a U.S.-built terminal and exports of manufactured goods supplement agriculture and tourism. In recent years, revenue from tourism has replaced that from bananas. Tourists come for the beaches, rainforest canopy ziplining, and ATV adventures. Next would be Samoa, or the independent state of Samoa. Samoa consists of 2 large volcanic islands and a few smaller islands in the South Pacific. Rainforests cover the mountains. Germany took over the western part of the Samoan archipelago in 1900. After World War I, New Zealand administered the islands until they became independent in 1962. Samoa's economy depends on development assistance and overseas remittances. In 2011, Samoa shifted its time zone forward by 24 hours to facilitate trade and tourism with Australia and New Zealand. Turning our page so I can read to you about Senegal, or the Republic of Senegal. Senegal's northern and southern regions are mostly divided by the country of the Gambia. Nearly all Senegalese are Muslim. 3 centuries of French administration ended in 1960. The Wolof ethnic group, dominant in the northwest, constitutes about 43% of the population. Since 1982, the Jola ethnic group in the impoverished Casamance region has been rebelling against the government in Dakar. A deep natural harbor and an international airport make Dakar a major West African trade center. Exports are mostly fish or farm products, but tourism, phosphate mining, and remittances contribute to the economy. Next would be Serbia, or the Republic of Serbia. Located in southeastern Europe, Serbia features a fertile Danube plain in the north, rising to rugged mountains in the south. Part of Yugoslavia until 2003, Serbia was part of the Union of Serbia and Montenegro until 2006. A 1998 insurgency in the majority Albanian province of Kosovo was met with a campaign of ethnic cleansing, a civil war that ended in 1999 only after NATO bombed Serbia. Kosovo declared independence in 2008. Serbia's economy and infrastructure are still recovering. Accepted as a candidate country for European Union membership in 2012, Serbia benefits from EU investments. Next would be Seychelles, or the Republic of Seychelles. About 115 tropical islands, many uninhabited, from the Republic of Seychelles in the Indian Ocean, independent from Britain since 1976. An international airport opened in 1971 on the largest island, Mahé, increasing tourism, the economic mainstay. The population includes French, African, Indian, Chinese, and Arab ethnic groups, 90% of whom live on Mahé. Aldabra, one of the world's largest coral atolls, is home to the greatest population of giant tortoises on Earth. About a third of the people are employed in tourism, and the fishing industry is also important to the economy. Next would be Sierra Leone, or the Republic of Sierra Leone. Sierra Leone is on the coast of West Africa, with mangrove swamps rising to interior plateaus and mountains. Sierra Leone, founded by slaves returning from Britain and North America in 1787, was a British colony until 1961. In the 1990s, democratically elected leaders were briefly overthrown. Illicit diamonds, so-called blood diamonds, funded rebel activity until 2000, when the UN banned their trade. In 2002, Sierra Leone emerged from a decade of civil war with the help of British troops and more than 17,000 UN peacekeepers. Income from mining exports is helping with the nation's recovery. Next would be Slovenia, or the Republic of Slovenia. Slovenia is a mountainous state in Central Europe that is 62% forest, with a short coastline on the Adriatic Sea. In 1918, Slovenia joined the nation subsequently named Yugoslavia, from which it proclaimed independence in June 1991, prompting a 10-day conflict that brought defeat to the Serb-dominated Yugoslav army. It is the most prosperous of the former Yugoslav republics, and ethnic Slovenes make up about 83% of the population. Slovenia possesses a highly skilled labor force. Its Western outlook and stability won Slovenia membership in both NATO and the EU in 2004. Next would be Somalia, or the Federal Republic of Somalia. Somalia is a semi-arid land in the Horn of Africa. It is flat in the south with mountains in the north. Somalis are one of the most homogeneous peoples in Africa. Nearly all follow Islam. In 1960, northern British Somaliland joined southern Somaliland, once an Italian colony, to create independent Somalia. Civil war ended a 21-year dictatorship in 1991, and Somalia was without an effective government until 2012, after which African Union, Ethiopian, and Kenyan forces helped defeat al-Shabaab militias. Most Somalis engage in subsistence farming. My cat just woke up. Most Somalis engage in subsistence farming and nomadic herding. Somali pirates disrupt shipping and fishing industries. And let's read about Somaliland. The more prosperous Republic of Somaliland seceded from the rest of Somalia in 1991 and lies within the old borders of British Somaliland. Somaliland's capital is Hargeisa, and its port, Berbera, provides goods to landlocked Ethiopia. Now my cat's eating his dry food as loud as possible. Somaliland's independence, while widely acknowledged, is not officially recognized by the international community. Somaliland has escaped the chaos of Somalia, and it provides its population of some 3.5 million people with a stable democratic government. However, many people live in poverty, and there are periodic border clashes with militias from Somalia's Puntland region. And next would be South Korea, or the Republic of Korea. South Korea consists of the southern half of the mountainous Korean peninsula, as well as many islands. South Koreans are culturally homogeneous and highly urbanized, with the Seoul urban agglomeration holding half of South Korea's people. To reduce pollution and traffic congestion, South Korea launched a high-speed train line that serves most of the population and carries some 40 million people a year. Korean is the official language, but English is taught as a second language in most schools. More than 1.7 million ethnic Koreans reside in the United States. After World War II freed Korea from Japanese rule, U.S. and Soviet occupation zones divided Koreans along the 38th parallel. South Korea gained independence in 1948, was invaded by North Korea in 1950, and fought a war until a 1953 armistice. Since 1987, it has grown as a multi-party democracy, and the government has pursued peace initiatives and trade with the unpredictable North Korean regime. South Korea is one of the world's top trading nations and a leader in internet connectivity. The country has experienced high economic growth over the last 3 decades. And next is Sri Lanka, or the Democratic Socialist Republic of Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka is a tropical island with a central plateau close to India's southern tip. Under European control for some 450 years, Ceylon won independence from Britain in 1948. A new constitution in 1972 renamed the country Sri Lanka and promoted Buddhism. Most ethnic Sinhalese, or 75%, are Buddhist, whereas most Tamils, at 15%, are Hindu. By 1973, Tamil separatists were organizing. Tens of thousands of Sri Lankans died in the civil war from 1983 until 2009. A 2004 tsunami caused more than 32,000 deaths. Despite government debt, there is economic growth in tourism and garment exports. All right, let's turn the page again. Let's read about Sudan, or the Republic of Sudan. Sudan, once Africa's largest country, became third largest when South Sudan seceded in 2011. Khartoum, Sudan's capital, sits at the confluence of the Blue Nile and White Nile rivers. Surrounded by desert, mountains rise along Sudan's Red Sea coast and much of its border. The north of Sudan is mostly desert, while the south consists of dry grasslands and forests. Arabs account for about 70% of the population. Hundreds of ethnic groups make up the rest. An estimated 97% of Sudanese are Muslim. Sudan is trying to develop non-oil revenue sources such as mining. And, since we've covered Norway, let's read about Svalbard. The Arctic islands of Norway's Svalbard territory are rugged and often icebound. In the 17th century, Svalbard was an important whale hunting location. Its coal reserves have made it economically important again. A number of European countries had economic activities in the archipelago until Norway gained full sovereignty in 1920. Most residents are Norwegian at 59.8%, but Russians and Ukrainians are also common at 20.4%. The archipelago is the site of the Svalbard Global Seed Vault, which protects against incremental or catastrophic loss of crop diversity by preserving more than 770,000 seed samples. Next is Sweden, or the Kingdom of Sweden. Sweden lies along the Baltic Sea on the Scandinavian peninsula and is largely a pristine landscape of forested mountains and large river valleys. For many years, Sweden was ethnically very homogeneous, but now about 1.6 million foreign-born people reside in Sweden. Some come for work and some seek asylum. In 2013, Sweden became the first EU country to offer permanent residency to Syrian refugees. Sweden's political and economic success has been credited to a blending of socialism and capitalism. Sweden has one of the world's longest life expectancies and lowest birth rates. And speaking of Syria, let's read about Syria, or the Syrian Arab Republic. Syria lies in the heart of the Middle East, its coastal plain backed by a low range of hills and desert plateau. Part of the Ottoman Empire, for 4 centuries, Syria was controlled by France after the early 20th century breakup of the empire, and then gained independence in 1946. Syrians are about 90% Muslim, mostly Sunni. The Alawite sect, a Shiite offshoot, is estimated at 12%. The Alawite-controlled Ba'ath Party has ruled since 1963. In 2011, the military suppressed pro-democracy uprisings. This escalated to civil war by 2012. The death toll is at least 400,000. 6.3 million are internally displaced, and 5.4 million have become refugees. Next we have Timor-Leste, or the Democratic Republic of Timor-Leste. Or as we say in America, East Timor. Timor-Leste, sometimes referred to as East Timor, and the first new nation of the 21st century, is just north of Australia. On the mountainous island of Timor, part of the Indonesian archipelago, Timor-Leste includes the island's eastern section and a small enclave in the west. A Portuguese colony from the 17th century, Timor-Leste declared independence in 1975 as the Portuguese colonial empire collapsed, only to be invaded and annexed by Indonesia. The UN guided Timor-Leste to independence in 2002. The country is a multi-party parliamentary republic and is poor, but increasing oil revenues and government spending help the economy. Next we have Togo, or the Togolese Republic. Togo is a long, narrow country with a short coastline along the Gulf of Guinea. Togoland was part of the German Empire from 1884 to 1914 until it was lost to British and French troops during World War I. French-administered Togoland became independent in 1960. Dictatorship and military rule marked most of Togo's political history until free elections in 2007. Southern ethnic groups tend to run the commercial sector, while northern groups traditionally dominate government and the military. Togo is a poor agricultural country, but poverty is declining due to democratic reforms. And next is Tonga, or the Kingdom of Tonga. Tonga comprises about 170 islands and islets, 36 of them inhabited, in the South Pacific northeast of New Zealand. The South Pacific, northeast of New Zealand. The ruler of this last remaining Polynesian kingdom traces his lineage back 1,000 years. A reformed constitution reduced the king's power and set up new parliamentary elections in 2010. The islands were under the protection of the United Kingdom for 70 years, until independence in 1970. The economy relies heavily on agriculture and fishing, with tourism and light industry becoming increasingly important. Next is Tunisia, or the Republic of Tunisia. Tunisia, on the Mediterranean coast of North Africa, has a mountainous north and arid south, with farmland in mountain valleys and coastal plains. Gaining independence in 1956 after 75 years under French control, Tunisians installed a secular president for life who ruled until 1987. The Arab Spring, a revolutionary wave against dictators, started in Tunisia in 2010 when a merchant self-immolated after police took his fruit cart. Tunisia's president fled after 23 years in office, and the country has become an emerging democracy. Tourists visit the sunny Mediterranean coast and ancient historical sites. Next is Turkey, or the Republic of Turkey, which, by the way, is the most viewed video in my Countries of the World series. It just overtook South Korea a few days ago. Yes, I do keep track of these. Turkey sits astride Europe and Asia. Its biggest city, Istanbul, is also Europe's most populous city. The dry plateau of Anatolia, an earthquake-prone region, dominates the Asian part of Turkey, and high mountains flank the plateau in the north, east, and south. The coastal areas of Anatolia consist of fertile lowlands with major cities. More than 99% of Turks are Muslim, roughly 80% Sunni and 20% Shiite. The largely Sunni Kurds are Turkey's largest ethnic minority at about 15 million. The ethnic Arab population has swollen with some 3.5 million Syrian refugees as of 2018. Only about 5,000 ethnic Greeks remain in Turkey, most in Istanbul, a tiny remnant of a people that once populated much of Turkey's Aegean coast. The Ottoman Empire, defeated in World War I, collapsed in 1922, replaced by a secular westernized republic. Although Turkey and Greece both belong to NATO, relations with Greece over Cyprus are tense, as are relations with Kurdish separatists. Turkey strives toward membership in the European Union, and some 5.2 million Turks work and live in EU countries. We're on the last page. All right, moving on to no U's, but we're going to do a U next week. I think the next one's just Zimbabwe, which is the last one on the list. Is that? No? Okay. Let's do it. Zimbabwe, or the Republic of Zimbabwe. This landlocked plateau country in southern Africa is named after a fortified medieval trading hub, which I have a whole video on. In 1890, British settlers arrived. In 1965, the white minority government declared independence as Rhodesia. International sanctions and guerrilla warfare against the illegal regime led to legitimately independent Zimbabwe in 1980. The country became a one-party state under autocratic rule and remains so to some extent even to this day. The economy has declined rapidly since the 1990s, and violent farm invasions reduce agricultural production. Let me double check, make sure that we did do them all. Let me see my master list down here in my notebook. You'll be able to hear the pages. Let's see. Czech Republic, Haiti, Sudan, Myanmar, Australia, Nauru, Sri Lanka, Grenada, Japan, Serbia, the Gambia, St. Lucia, Brunei, Kuwait, Dominican Republic, Bosnia and Herzegovina, South Korea, Ghana, Lithuania, Mauritius, Tunisia, Namibia, Greece, Bangladesh, Iran, Senegal, Syria, Zimbabwe, Turkey, Ireland, Sierra Leone, Togo, Romania, Israel, Paraguay, Cameroon, East Timor, Montenegro, Eritrea, Jordan, Georgia, Guyana, Armenia, Croatia, Samoa, Tonga, Sweden, Norway, the Philippines, Iceland, Mozambique, Slovenia, Madagascar, Djibouti, Seychelles, DRC, Burundi, Rwanda, Somalia. Yep, I got them all. Right then, that's it for tonight then. Thank you so much for listening, I suppose, and watching. I hope you have a very good night. And depending on how long this heat wave lasts, you might get another voiceover tomorrow night. We'll see. Good night.